All right, let's talk about a tool that's been the silent guardian of IT for, well, for decades now. We're talking about the digital watchman that literally never sleeps, Nagios. But before we get into the tech, just picture this. What happens when your website, your app, your most important service just stops? It's instant chaos, right? You've got lost revenue, angry customers, and this frantic scramble behind the scenes to figure out what on earth went wrong. In a world that runs 24/7, downtime isn't just an oopsie, it's a full-blown crisis. So, how do you prevent that kind of chaos? Well, the answer is having an unblinking eye on your systems all the time, which brings us to our first big idea, why continuous monitoring is just absolutely essential. Okay, so what is continuous monitoring, really? Look, this isn't about waiting for a big red alarm to go off after something's already broken. It's the total opposite. It's a proactive strategy. It's about constantly checking the pulse of your entire system, servers, apps, you name it, to catch the little things like memory getting low or a server becoming unreachable before they can ever impact a single customer. It's all about preventing the fire, not just putting it out. And in a modern DevOps world, this approach isn't just nice to have, it is non-negotiable. DevOps is all about speed, right? Constant integration, constant delivery. You just can't have a fast, automated pipeline if you have to slam on the brakes to manually check server health all the time. Continuous monitoring automates all of that, spotting crashes and performance issues, letting developers fix problems way before a product ever sees the light of day. It's what keeps the whole engine running smoothly and quickly.
So this whole idea of automated constant vigilance, well, it's perfectly embodied by our main topic. Let's really dig into what Nagios is and how it became such an industry standard.
At its heart, Nagios does exactly what this quote says. It's a system built from the ground up to watch everything, tell you the second something goes wrong, and, just as important, tell you when it's fixed. Its entire reason for being is to stop infrastructure problems from ever becoming business problems. And you know, it's been doing this for a long time. Nagios actually started its life way back in 1999. It was originally called NetSaint. A couple years later, there was a trademark issue, so it was renamed in 2002, and it's been actively developed and improved ever since. It's one of the most mature, battle-tested monitoring tools out there. And here's a fun little piece of trivia for you. The name Nagios, it's actually a recursive acronym. It stands for Nagios ain't gonna insist on sainthood. It's this clever little inside joke, a nod back to its original name, NetSaint. So we know what it is, we know where it came from, but how does it actually work? Let's pop the hood and take a look. Nagios is built on a really classic, really effective model, a server-agent architecture. So you have one central Nagios server that's like the command center, the brain of the whole operation. But this server doesn't do all the work itself. Instead, it uses these little bits of software called plugins to talk to agents that you've installed on all the remote machines you want to watch. It's like having a central HQ getting constant field reports from agents on the ground. So let's walk through what one of these checks actually looks like step by step. First, the scheduler on the main server decides, hey, it's time to check the CPU load on that web server. It then calls on the right plugin. That plugin reaches out to the agent living on the remote web server, which then runs the actual check. The agent gets the result, let's say CPU load is at 75%, and sends that back to the scheduler. And boom! Finally, that status gets updated on the Nagios dashboard for everyone to see. It's this constant repeating cycle of requests and results. Now, to get those reports from the field, Nagios is super flexible. You just pick the right agent for the job. You've got NRPE, which is the classic go-to for Linux and Unix systems. Then there's NS Client++, which is mainly what you'll use for Windows machines. And a more modern one, NCPA, is a great cross-platform agent that works on pretty much anything.
Now look, Nagios is incredibly powerful, but with great power often comes, well, a lot of complexity. So how do sysadmins keep everything manageable and, stay sane? Let's get into some best practices straight from the community.
This question, pulled right from the sysadmin subreddit, just hits the nail on the head. It gets to the heart of the biggest challenge. When you're watching hundreds, maybe thousands of machines, and they all have different services and need to alert different people, your configuration files can turn into an absolute mess. So how do you keep it all clean? Well, the advice from the trenches is pretty clear. Break it down and automate.
Instead of one monster config file, you create separate files for each host. You organize everything into a logical folder structure. And this is crucial. You put all of it into a version control system like Git, so you can track every single change. Then, to really scale, you use tools like Puppet or Chef to automate the whole setup.
Okay, theory and best practices are great. But what does this all look like in the real world? What's the actual bottom line business impact? Let's wrap this up with a case study that shows just how powerful this can be.
So here's the situation. An IT firm called Bitnetic was brought in to monitor the online store for a billion-dollar retailer. And the client was in trouble. They were dealing with frequent downtime. And, maybe even worse, they were drowning in so many false alarms that their teams just started ignoring them. And that is a recipe for disaster. Bitnetic's solution was just really clever. First, they used a feature in Nagios called Event Handlers to automatically try and restart a failed service before it even sent an alert. That one change fixed about 90% of the issues right away. For the problems that were left, they built smart escalation rules. So instead of blasting everyone at once, they notified the right people at the right time, which massively cut down on the noise. And the results? I mean, just look at this. They speak for themselves. Before this smart Nagios setup, the retailer's annual uptime was stuck at about 85%. Afterwards, it shot up to 98%. That jump represents a massive amount of saved revenue and customer trust.
Let's just pause on that number for a second. 98%. For a company doing $1 billion in business, every single percentage point there is worth millions. That is the real, tangible, bottom-line impact of moving from just reacting to problems to proactively and intelligently monitoring your systems.
So, as we've seen, Nagios is so much more than just a tool. It's a whole strategy for building stable and reliable systems. Which really just leaves us with one final thought. If this is the kind of power that comes from truly watching your infrastructure, the real question to ask yourself is, what critical systems in your world are flying blind right now? Thanks for joining me.